Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference is brought to you by First Mining Gold.
Sandstorm Gold announced a blockbuster $1.1 billion deal with the acquisition of Nomad royalty and other assets. CEO is Nolan Watson. Nolan, welcome back to Kitco.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Why the deal and why now?
Well, Sandstorm's always been a growth company, and I've been on this with you a number of times proclaiming that, and it's nice to be able to actually prove it. We've always been looking for transactions of this scale, and it just so happens that in an M&A world, when you're looking to acquire things, you never really get to control the timing. Why now? Is we've been trying for a lot of years, and it just so happened that two amazing transactions coalesced right at the exact same time, and so we're buying out one of our royalty partners, Nomad, and we're buying out a private royalty business in the form of BaseCore, and we're doing it all at the same time because both deals came together at the same time.
What is this going to do to the mix? Let's start with the metals first. What is this going to do to the mix of metals that are going to be coming out from Sandstorm?
Yeah, so pro forma, post both of these acquisitions, once we have them all done and dusted and closed, Sandstorm will be just about 90% precious metals.
Mm-hmm. And the geographic mix?
All over the world. So we're going to have probably close to 260, 270 streams and royalties, and about 40 of them plus cash flowing and growing, and really heavily focused a bit more in North America, South America, so the Americas. Some of the stuff that we're buying, a little bit of it's in Africa, but definitely North and South America, heavily focused.
Talk about the develops at Hod Maden. It sounds like you've moved out of the ownership and now it's just a fully stream.
Yeah, so we've turned that into a stream at Sandstorm. So Sandstorm's back to a pure play stream and royalty company, and Hod Maden's moving forward as a project. They've got their EIA permits granted a number of months ago. They're already starting with long lead items and roads and all that type of stuff, and that project's moving forward and probably should be up and running in the next 2.5, 3 years.
Interesting market right now with what is the way that things have shaken out. It's obviously been tough. You've seen what's happened to the GDXJ, but what it has been, it seems like it's been the seniors, and also I'm seeing a lot of people favoring what's happening to the royalty and streaming space just because of energy costs.
Yeah, there's definitely been a massive sell-off in the precious metals equity space. I mean, it's been brutal, quite frankly. But you kind of expect that, and you see that historically over rate height cycles, where at the very beginning of a rate height cycle, you see gold start pulling back. Mm-hmm. And then once you get about halfway through that rate height cycle, when people realize, okay, I can see the end. Gold's really good at looking forward 12 months. And when people can see the end, gold typically starts ripping towards the end of rate height cycle. So I'm really bullish on what the precious metals are going to do, kind of 6 to 12 months out from now. In the meantime, though, it is challenging because precious metal prices are under pressure a little bit, and as you said, there's a huge amount of inflation that's happening. A lot of cost push inflation, labor costs are going up, energy costs are going up, supply chain disruptions that are even outside of the cost push inflation. You've got the supply chain disruptions that are causing increased costs and lower productivity, and so it's really hard to be a miner these days. And I gotta say, I'm glad I'm a royalty company.
Are you going to see more deals? Because I assume that it's going to be very tough on the equity side. It's going to be very tough on the debt side.
Yeah, well, we got to close these $1.1 billion worth of deals first before we can look at further growth. But Sandstorm, we're going to be a cash flow machine. Our cash flow a couple of years out will be a couple $100 million US a year at today's commodity prices. And so, of course, we're going to use that cash flow to grow. And I think there's going to be lots of buying opportunities. Typically, we see lots of different phases of cycles for the types of things we buy. Sometimes precious metals are hurt. Like precious metal companies are going to be under pressure, and I think you'll be able to find streams and royalties from those companies. And in other parts of the cycle, it's base metal companies that are hurting, and precious metal companies are doing great. And then you focus your efforts trying to buy precious metal byproduct streams out of those base metal companies. So there's always deals to do depending on what part of the cycle you're in.
I think the shine came a little bit off of crypto right now. I think it was also kind of, how would you say, it was kind of hogging the same space that gold was certainly occupying maybe about 6 months ago. Thoughts about the action? Because I think what I've seen right now since year to date, I think the NASDAQ as well as Bitcoin or crypto has been down about 30%.
Yeah, crypto is one of those things that I've never really been a big believer in. I've said that publicly. I'm one of the few people in the world who's never owned Bitcoin and almost certainly never will. But what it's done, and I've really appreciated this in the gold space, is that gold is one of those assets that a lot of the old wise people around in finance, they know its inherent value because they know it as a store of value is incredibly valuable. Central bankers know it, but the young generation doesn't really see it. Gold is kind of out of sight and out of mind for them, but Bitcoin has been very front and center for them. And for the first time, you have a young generation that now has been taught and educated about the risks of fiat currencies and the reason and the need for something different and an alternative to them. And they also sort of rushed into Bitcoin and Ethereum and SafeMoon coin and thousands of other crazy things. But and they're not now seeing that fall apart, but they're still, now that generation is aware that there's a need for something else. And so I'm on the board of the World Gold Council, and we're actually right now working to make gold more front and center for next generations. And we have some pretty cool, exciting projects that are in the works that I'm particularly excited about. And I think you're going to see gold kind of start to step in and take that place over the next 10 years in young people's minds.
Nolan, thanks for speaking with Kitco.
Thank you.
He's Nolan Watson, CEO of Sandstorm Gold. My name is Mike McRae, and you're watching Kitco Mining.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference is brought to you by First Mining Gold.